Just yeah. So as we came to know yesterday, Arjuna was not confused. Arjuna was appearing to be confused, right? So Arjuna was appearing to be confused to let us all know what would be the reason of these problems. We all would be facing problems in our lives, right? Arjuna is telling us. Arjuna is letting us know the answers beforehand only. Before even we have this problem, if we know Bhagavad Gita, we would know the answer, right? And we knew yesterday, right, that whatever challenges that may be coming in our lives would be answered by Bhagavad Gita. So let's see how it answers, right? So Arjuna is saying, now I am really confused about my duties. I yes. So we knew about 5 reasons that Arjuna gave: compassion, no enjoyment, sin, family tradition, and indecision. And he is appearing to be really confused, and I don't know what to do. Please, I am surrendered onto me. Please instruct me, right? So this is how he tells. Now we can skip this. So who is Krishna? Okay, Arjuna is there. Arjuna is asking Krishna all these things, but who is Krishna? Who is Krishna? Now, to understand this, let's understand we are going to a place in some mountain, right? From far away, we would see only clouds and mountain and cloud and mountain and nothing else. But as we go closer, we would see some tree appearing there, right? There is some tree. From far away, we would not be able to see. But if we go closer, we would be able to see that tree. If we still go closer, we would be able to see what is there on the tree, right? This parrot is sitting on the tree. We would not be able to see it from far away, but as we go closer, we would be able to see the tree. And if we go far, even closer, we would be able to see the parrot on the tree too. And we could see him eating something too, right? But from far away, it is not possible. Similarly, there are 3 ways of knowing uh, Bhagwan, right? So there are 3 ways of knowing Bhagwan. What are those 3 ways? One is the lowest way of knowing Bhagwan. What is the lowest way of knowing Bhagwan? Bhagwan is some energy, right? Bhagwan is some energy. No, this is lowest way, right? What is that? It is uh, just a minute. Mm, I just got a bit deviated. Just a minute. Yeah. So yeah, what are those 3 ways of knowing Bhagwan? Bhagwan, the lowest way of knowing Bhagwan is this energy, Brahman. What is Bhagwan? Bhagwan is some energy, right? Uh, this you can see uh, at a lot of places you would be able to hear about Bhagwan, that Bhagwan is some energy, some form of energy, right? If we still know a bit closer, Mhm. if we still want to know a bit closer, we would see that there is four-handed form of four-handed form, four-handed form of the Lord, right? Who is that? Who is that? That is still better way of knowing. Bhagwan is in our hearts. Bhagwan is in the heart of everyone. But what is the best way of knowing Bhagwan? Bhagwan is a two-handed form. Pure devotees who try to understand Krishna the right way, they come to know this part, that Bhagwan is a two-handed form. He is personal form. We can see him, we can touch him, right? We can know him in person, right? These are the three ways of knowing Bhagwan. What are those three ways? First way is uh, uh, again Brahman. Second way is Paramatma. Third way is Bhagwan. Brahman is the lowest way of knowing Bhagwan, which is some energy. Paramatma is the four-handed form which is situated in everyone's heart, and Bhagwan is the two-handed form which is personal form, which is Satchidananda, which is blissful, which we see and we are very very happy. We feel eternal blissful when we know Krishna the third way. We all should strive to know Krishna only this third way. Now, what is Bhagwan? Who is Bhagwan? Let me tell you from. mm, Let me tell you from Vishnu Puran. So, who is God? If someone asks us who is God, we will say Krishna is God. They say that we would say Krishna is God. But do we know why? Why Krishna is God? If any ordinary man says, I am God, uh, how can we refute this argument? So suppose there is someone who is coming and saying that Krishna is God. How can we, or there is someone who is saying that no, 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 Krishna is not God. This is God. That is God. How can we refute that? Right? We can refute by the great sage Parsha Muni, who said, who was the father of Vyasadeva, who gave the definition of God. This was the definition. This is there in Vishnu Puran 6.5, 5.47. A person who is full of six opulences, that is, one who possesses all strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, renunciation, is called Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagwan, Bhaga means opulence, Van means who possesses. So Krishna has six qualities. Krishna is full in six qualities. What is six? All beauty, all strength, all wealth, all knowledgeable, all famous, all renowned. Now, what are these six qualities? If anyone, if anyone of us has any of these six qualities, even in a small or in large quantity, even if we have a very small quantity or we have very very large quantity, if we have these six qualities, it belongs to Krishna only, and Krishna chose to give these six qualities to us, right? If I am a bit beautiful, how am I beautiful? Because Krishna gave some beauty in me. It is all belonging to Krishna. It does not belong to me. If I have strength, it is because Krishna gave me strength. If I am wealthy, because Krishna gave me wealth. If I am knowledgeable, because Krishna gave me knowledge. If I am famous, because Krishna gave that fame to me, I am famous. If I am renounced, because Krishna gave that renunciation idea to me, I am renounced. Else, if Krishna does not give this to us, we would not have these six qualities. So, who is Bhagwan? Now, in Bhagavad Gita, wherever Krishna would be mentioned, there would be Bhagavan Uvacha, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Why Sri Bhagavan Uvacha? Because Krishna is Bhagavan. Krishna is Bhagavan, right? So now it is clear. Till now we were confused. Who is Bhagavan? Who is Bhagavan? Now this clearly explains that in Bhagavad Gita it is explained Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. In Vishnu Puran it is clearly mentioned that these are the six qualities. So now we know that who is Bhagavan? Krishna is Bhagavan, right? So yeah, we can skip this. Yeah. So now, okay, Krishna is Bhagavan, but who are we? Who are we? This question still remains, right? So we would know now who are we. So Arjuna asked five questions, right? Krishna is answering those five questions only. Krishna would be answering those 5 questions, and we would come to know secretly who are we. So this is 2.13. Does anyone want to chant this shloka? I'm unmuting you all. Yeah.
Prabhuji, can I chant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love.
Komaram. Beautiful. Thank you. So, what happened? Yeah. So this is Bhagavad Gita 2.13, which says, as the embodied soul continually passes from in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into one body into another body at death. Right? The self realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Now, we all get really tensed with this fact that we all would die, right? We all feel like we all would die, and we are really tense with this fact. But there is nothing to get tensed about. Krishna says that as the body continuously passes, right? We can see this thing, right? There is one small boy. After that, it grows a bit younger. After that, even younger, more young. Now he is adult. Similarly, he transforms himself into old, and thereafter he dies. Right? So Krishna says that there is nothing to wonder, it happens with everyone. And how does it happen? Like we change our clothes. Today I am wearing this t-shirt, right? After some time, what would happen? This t-shirt would get bad. This t-shirt would get bad, right? It would start smelling and everything, and it would turn dirty after that, right? So what would I do? I would change this t-shirt. Similarly, uh, our soul gets transformed from one body to another body. This body got soul at uh, at birth, and it changed. The body got changed from this to this. Thereafter, soul moved from this body to another body. Right? Soul never dies. Soul never dies. Body gets changed, but soul never dies. Soul remains same throughout, right? Yeah. So who would chant this, and we would know of what I was talking about after this. I stopped at that because this two would talk about the same thing. Who would chant this? Yeah. Agama apayuno. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Mm. So this is Bhagavad Gita 2.14. What I was talking about was about that soul, right? We would continue that logic, that argument here. So what is that? This shloka explains, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and its their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception. O son of Bharata, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Now we see this beautiful tree, right? In certain season, it blooms with leaves and flowers. In some another season, what would happen? it just sheds away all its leaf and all its flower and would become barren, and again it would turn full bloom with leaves and flowers after some time, right? So this happens with every season. Similarly, what is there? Happiness and distress. Happiness and distress are a part of life, right? And they are not permanent. Krishna says they are non-permanent. Happiness does not stay longer. Sadness or distress does not stay longer either, right? They are non-permanent, and their appearance and disappearance is like winter and summer season. When season changes, season changes from one to another, similarly happiness and distress comes in the lives, right? They arise from sense perception. How do they come? They arise because we have expectation, because we have our thoughts put into them, that we want to be happy and sad, because of that only, because we have expectations built in. Suppose you go to school, right? And you expect in the lunch session you would play, right? But that teacher is like me. He takes a very long class. What would happen? Your lunch break would be shortened. Your lunch break, which was for 30 minutes, would get shortened to, let's say, 10 minutes. Only in that lunch break you would be able to eat, but you would not be able to play. Now you had that expectation that you would play, but what happened? You did not get this opportunity to play. Why? Because your lunch break was shortened. Why did that happen? Because you had expectation built in already that I would play. Your happiness turned into sadness, distress. Oh no, I did not play. But why was it? After some time, after, let's say, when the school ends for the day, you would forget it, right? You were sad throughout the day, but after the school ended you forgot it completely, right? So it is non-permanent. So you should not be happy, you should not feel too much happiness or distress. That is what this shloka mentions, right? So who would chant this?
Prabhuji, can I?
Yeah.
Na jayate mriyate va kadachan nayam bhuvito bhavita va nahi bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire.
Yes. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So there is the body. So the soul is unborn, eternal, and ever existing, and primeval. The soul, right? So let me read from the top only. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. What does Krishna says? Krishna says that the soul is soul does not take birth, nor it dies at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. I would explain this. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So we were trying to find out who were we, and Krishna explains this. What Krishna explains, that we are not body. We are not body. We are what? We are ever existing. We are soul, right? And the soul does not take birth and it does not die at any time. Soul remains as it is. Soul remains as it is forever, right? So Arjuna gave the first reason as compassion. But what does Krishna say? Krishna says that you should be compassionate for the soul and not this body. You are being sentimental. You are not being compassionate. You are being sentimental towards the body. you should be compassionate towards the soul, right? So Arjuna's first doubt of not fighting was destroyed by this, that we are not body, we are soul, right? Mm, Again, this is explained further here. So this is a very famous shloka. Anyone would be able to remember this. So could someone chant this?
Can I try?
Kirtana, yes.
Nayam नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्ति आपो न शोषयति मारुतः.
Yeah. So, what does this shloka says? This is Bhagavad Gita 2.23. Yes. So it says the soul cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. So earlier we came to know that soul is unborn, eternal, right? Soul is unborn. It does not take birth anytime. It does not die anytime. It stays as it is throughout, right? And again, Krishna says the soul cannot be cut into pieces. The soul is something which is undestroyable, and it cannot be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, not withered by wind. Now, what is the size of the soul? If you take your hair out and if you see the tip of the hair, right, the 1 by 1000, sorry, 10,000 part, 10,000 part, that is soul. That is small is soul, right? It cannot be cut cut into pieces. It cannot be cut by weapon, nor can be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor by wind. So, soul is undestroyable, untouched, right? So, we came to know this. We are soul, and if we are soul, we should be compassionate to the soul. Why be sentimental towards the body, right? All our problem, whatever problem that we are facing, is because of uh, most of the problem we are facing is because of the wrong identification, false identification. What is the false identification? We think ourselves as body, and body has a lot of problem. What kind of problem? We feel stress at times, we are frustrated, we feel depressed, anxiety, right? These are the bodily problems that we all face. But soul is really very, very happy. But what it needs is, it needs the association of Krishna. It longs for Krishna, right? The soul needs Krishna. We all feed our body, but we do not feed our soul. Now, if we think like Arjuna was made to think after this, if we think that we are soul, we would not be having any problem, right? So whenever we feel morose, it is certainly due to the imbalance of nutrition between the soul and the body, right? So yesterday we were talking about five elements that we would be talking about, right? Ishvara and Jiva. The first and second element that we were talking about, Ishvara and Jiva. Now, uh, uh, both Ishvara and Jiva has soul. Both Ishvara and Jiva has soul. Ishvara has super soul. Jiva has a small soul. The Ishvara's soul is known as Vibhu. The Jiva soul is known as Anu, small Anu, right? Vibhu and Anu, they both existed from time immemorial. They both existed from the start of the time, right? The soul of Krishna and our soul existed from the start of the time. right? So Krishna says that the body would die, but the soul has ever been existing and would ever exist. So why worry about soul? Soul would be there. Yeah. So this is Bhagavad Gita. Now this is answer to question number 2. Now I have to unmute you. Yes. So who would read this shloka?
Hare Krishna, can I read?
Yeah.
हतोव प्रप्यासि स्वर्गं चित्वाव भोक्ष्यासे महिमा तस्मत् उत्तिष्ठ उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृता निश्चय
Nishchit.
निश्चयः.
Yes. 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 So, O son of Kunti, either you would be killed in the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you would conquer the earthly, uh, uh, you would conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up and fight with determination. Now, what was the second reason Arjuna gave? What was the second doubt that Arjuna had? Arjuna gave the second reason as there would not be an enjoyment, but Krishna says there is enjoyment and enjoyment. If you win, there is enjoyment. If you lose, there is enjoyment. If you win, what would happen? You would enjoy the earthly kingdom. If you lose, what would happen? You would go to heavenly planet because you fought in the battlefield. You did what you have to do, right? Therefore, you would enjoy in the heavenly planets, right? And if you win, what would happen? You would rule the earthly planet. So there is always enjoyment. So again, Krishna destroyed the second reason that Arjuna gave. Now, this is further extension to that explanation. Yes. Again, I am unmuted. Who would chant this shloka?
Can I chant, please?
Yeah, please.
उवाच वेदांश्च बाहन्
Bahun.
बहुन् वादिष्यन्ति तावहितः निन्दांस्तास्तव सम्मार्त्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्.
Yes, beautiful. So, your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful to you? Now, for a Kshatriya, for someone who is Kshatriya, if uh, anyone makes fun of their abilities, that is the worst thing that they could hear. They could not hear that, right? And what Krishna says that you talk about enjoyment. If you are not doing battle with this Dhritarashtriyas, which we commonly call Kauravas, right? If you are not doing this battle, what would happen? This Dhritarashtriyas and all your enemies would describe you in many unkind words. They would talk bad things about you, right? And they would make fun of you. What could be more painful than that? It would be really very, very painful to you, right? So again, second argument is destroyed. Now, I have again unmuted. Yes. So who would chant this?
Can I try, Guruji?
Yeah.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते सर्वम् अपैस्या धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
So who is this? Who is this? Who is this great personality?
Hanuman.
No, this is not Hanuman.
Garuda.
No, this is not Vibhishan. Look. This is the bridge that is building right now, and Ram and this Lakshman is waiting, and they are seeing this Vibhishan coming, right? So what does this explain? And we can see this is Hanuman. Somebody said Hanuman, and this let me mute you all. So yeah, I would unmute you just after explaining the story. So uh, if we do the third reason that Arjuna said was it would incur sin. Now think of this: Vibhishan left his brother. When did he leave his brother? When he was all alone. His brother, just a minute, what is the problem? Yeah. So when did he leave his brother? He left his brother when he left his brother when he wanted, his brother wanted, Ravana wanted him to be on his side, but he left his brother. Why did he leave his brother? He leave his brother because he always used to say the right thing. And because he used to say the right thing, because he would say that Lord Rama is Narayana and you should bow down to him, you should give back his wife, right? Sita Maya, you should give back, and you should bow down to him. He used to explain this to his brother, but his brother was not a good person. Ravana was a very bad person. But leaving his brother alone was not a good thing that he did, right? But because he did it for Lord Ram, it was the best thing. It was not good. It was not very good. It was the best thing. Similarly, Hanumana burned the Lanka. Now, burning a place where people are living, is that good thing? No, it is not good. But he burned the Lanka. But why did he burn the Lanka? He burned the Lanka because of the instruction of Lord Ram, right? So, was it good? It was the best thing. So, what do we understand? We understand one little fact, that if we are doing anything for Krishna, if we are doing anything for Krishna, we would be liberated from the sin that we may incur. There are a lot of sin that we may incur, but if we are doing it for Krishna, that is what it is important. Everything else is secondary. You don't have to think about anything else. If you are dedicating yourself to Krishna, everything else is very, very small. Now think of this rat. This poor rat was eating cherry, right? Now, as he was eating this cherry, what happened? The cherry became very, very small, and he almost ate it. Right. After that, he saw one uh, uh, earthen lamp, a lamp burning. Right. Now, as he saw, he felt like this is cherry. Now, when earthen lamp is about to die, right? Is in the last phase. It looks very, very red, right? So this rat felt like this is cherry. So what did it do? It ran onto this lamp to eat it. Now there was Krishna's deity around. Now what did it do? As this rat went, he got himself burned. He was burned. But as he was burning, he circumvented Krishna. He circumvented Krishna. And Krishna felt like, oh, poor rat. He gave up his life just to circumvent on me. And this rat was liberated. So, Krishna, if you do even a small service to Krishna, even a very small service to Krishna, that would give you immense benefit. That would give you immense benefit. So we should all do service to Krishna, like Hanumana, like Vibhishana. We should always be dedicated in doing service to Krishna, right? So uh, the third reason he gave was it would incur sin. Now we came to know that if we are doing it for Krishna, how can it do any sin? We would not be able to do any sin if we are doing it for Krishna. And Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight, right? So Arjuna is fighting on the instruction of Krishna, so it can never do any sin. The fourth reason that Krishna gave was it would break family tradition. Now this father is doing dhoti for this little child. Now, if this father is not there, suppose this father is not there, who would do the small things for his son? Who would teach him right things? He would not be able to learn these right things, right? He would not be able to understand everything, right? It would be very difficult for this child. No one would teach him, right? So uh, he was Arjuna was saying that it would break the family tradition. But what answer Krishna gave? Krishna gave that Krishna gave the explanation that if you do not fight, what would happen? That would break the family tradition, wherein you are a Kshatriya. It is your responsibility to fight. And what you are doing, you are setting an example, that you are walking away from the fight. Now, we would know in later chapter, I believe in third chapter itself, that whatever a leader do, a common man follows. So what would happen? You are a leader not only to your family but to all the families. He was a very famous personality. Arjuna was a very famous personality. What Krishna said? Krishna said that if you do not fight, every family would walk away from their duties, and they would say, even Arjuna could not do it. How can we do it? Right? So Krishna said that forget breaking the tradition of your family. You would break the tradition of every family, because you are presenting yourself as a bad leader. Everyone knows you, and you would be walking away. How bad it would be, right? So Krishna destroyed the fourth reason that Arjuna gave. And this was the fifth reason. Unmuting you all. Yeah. Who would read this? Yeah.
व्यावसायत्मिका बुद्धिः एकेहा कुरु नन्दन बहुसात्मक अनन्तश्च बुद्धायुर्व्यवसायिनाम्.
Yeah. Again, someone please read this. I would explain both together.
Sri Bhagavan
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Yeah, Siddhant, please read.
प्रजति कामं सर्वान् पार्थमनो
श्रीभगवानुवाच
आत्मनि एवात्मनापुषतः स्थित प्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते.
Yeah. So let me first go to 2.41. So Arjuna had fifth reason not to fight was indecision. Now, How would Krishna break this indecision idea? Let me show you from here. 2.41. So Krishna says, those who are who are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of Kurus, their intelligence. Let me mark. The intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branch. Now, what does Krishna says? Krishna says simple one thing, that you should be focused. You should be focused upon your target. What you have to do, you should be focused upon target. Now, this is Guru Dronacharya teaching Arjuna to play the arrow. Now he asked every Pandavas to and Kauravas, as he was teaching, he asked everyone that you target this bird, and after he told, he asked, what do you see? So someone was saying, I was seeing the feather, someone was saying, I am seeing air, water, whatever. Arjuna said only one thing, I could see the eye of the bird, right? He could see the target. And Krishna says that you should target your whatever you have to do. Now Arjuna knew all these facts beforehand only. That is the reason why Arjuna in his childhood only he could tell Guru Dronacharya that I could see the eye of the bird. But Arjuna wanted to be an instrument for all of us to know, right? So he asked all these questions. Yes, so 2.55. The blessed Lord said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So, Krishna says that when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire, so we all have our senses. How many senses do we have? Yeah. How many senses do we have?
6 senses.
What are those?
Smell, skin, touch, absence, tongue,
Yeah.
eye, nose, ears,
Yeah.
tongue.
Yes. So we have 6 senses, right? So Krishna says that if we give all away our senses, how can we give our senses? Now we should give away our senses by devoting it for Krishna. Now you need to understand this part very clearly. What happens? People say that do not feel if you have to give up on taste. What do they say? They say that do not think about taste. Is it possible that we do not think about taste? We would feel sweet and salty every time, bitter and sour all the time, right? If we are eating something, we would feel it. Now, what we need to do is we need to give away our senses and think about Krishna. We should use our tongue for Krishna. We should use our eyes to see Krishna. We should use our nose to in the service of Krishna. We should give our ears to hearing about Krishna, right? So this is the way of giving away senses. It's not like we should not be able to hear anything. That is giving up senses. No, that is not giving up senses. Giving up senses is devoting it for Krishna, right? So we should giving up all varieties of sense desire. How can we do? By devoting it for Krishna. And further, we would be able to understand it deeper as we go in later chapters. As we would be moving to third, fourth, fifth by seventh and eighth chapter, we would know everything. How can we devote every our senses for Krishna, right? For now, just think that if we are using our senses for Krishna only, that is giving a sense desire, right? Krishna says that if you are able to do it, you would be able to feel the pure transcendental consciousness. Now, this is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj faced so many problems, faced so many challenges, right? But he was determined. He was determined. What was he determined about? He was determined about talking about Krishna. Right from the birth, Prahlad Maharaj faced many challenges because he was born in a demon family. He was born to Hiranyakashipu, right? Hiranyakashipu was a very big demon. He used to hate Krishna. That demon used to hate Krishna. And because Prahlad Maharaj, his son, used to chant the name of Krishna, this demon went on to the extent of trying to kill his own son. Look, he has sent these demons to kill his son. He has sent this snake to kill his own son. Right? So Prahlad Maharaj father, Hiranyakashipu, wanted to kill his own son, right? But he was determined. He was determined to serve Krishna, right? This Holika wanted to kill, but no one was able to kill. When he gave up his senses for Krishna, what happened? He was in pure transcendental consciousness, and Krishna came personally. Krishna came personally to save him. Every time Krishna came to save Prahlad Maharaj, right? So Prahlad Maharaj was saved from every danger. Krishna takes care. And we have Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has dedicated all his life serving for Krishna. He did everything possible to serve Krishna. He used to write notes. He would not even take proper sleep. He would sleep for 2 hours. All his night he would be writing notes about Krishna. He would be writing books. During daytime he would do kirtan. He would talk about Krishna. He would preach about Krishna. He would see that everyone knows about Krishna, right? So Srila Prabhupada too has been very determined. Now, who would read this? Let me unmute everyone. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमन् स्मृति भ्रमत्सद् बुद्धि नसत् प्रणश्यति.
Yes. So what does it say? It says, from anger comes delusion. Sorry, from anger complete delusion arises, which means this. And from delusion bewilderment of memory. From memory, when memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. When intelligence is lost, one falls down again into this material pool. Yes, let me explain that. Suppose now this is one example. I do not wish that you all think that way, but you can think like for this example you may think it, but please do not do it in normal lives. Suppose you are completely attached to your mobile phone, right? You want to play mobile phone games, you want to talk with your friends, you want to do everything on mobile phone, you want to chat with your friends, and you stay with mobile phone all the time, and your mother comes. So this is object, right? And you are satisfying your senses. What did I say? You should be using your eyes to see Krishna, your tongue to talk about Krishna, your ears to hear about Krishna, right? But what are you doing? You are using mobile phone to see, right? To satisfy your eyes, right? To satisfy your ears, to satisfy your tongue, right? What are you doing? You are using object to satisfy your senses. If you are doing that, what would happen? Attachment would happen. You would get attached to this mobile phone, right? What would happen after attachment? As you get attached, you would develop lust. You would develop excessive desire, greed to have this, right? Suppose uh, this could not stay forever. This mobile phone, suppose it drops from my hand, it would break. Or in my example, let's say your mother snatches it. That dear son, you have been using mobile phone all day and night. This is not good. She snatches it. What would happen? Anger would develop. From lust, what would happen? Lust is excessive greed, right? After excessive greed, what would happen? This anger would develop. After anger, what would happen? Delusion would occur. Now you would think like, how can I take my mobile phone back? My mother has taken it. How can I take it back? Right? From anger, what would happen? Delusion would occur. You would not be able to think properly. You would not be able to think properly. Now, whatever you are doing, let's say you are studying. After your mother snatches the mobile phone, 6 hours after that, you are studying. Even then, you would not be able to focus yourself on the studies. You would have delusion. From delusion, what would happen? Bewilderment of memory. You would have bad memory. You would have your memory which is not proper, and thereafter loss of intelligence. Even if you are most intelligent, what would happen? Your intelligence would get lost, and after that, eventually you would fall and you would fail. You would fall and you would fail. So, what does Krishna say? Krishna says that you should not focus yourself unto the satisfaction of your senses. You should not focus upon satisfaction of your senses, because from anger from object comes attachment, from attachment comes lust, from lust comes anger, and this anger is talked about here. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down in the material pool. So, do you want to fail? How many of you want to fail? Yeah. How many of you want to fail? Okay, sorry. Yeah. Do you all want to fail?
No.
No, right? So what should you do?
No.
What should you do?
Be attached to anything.
No.
Yes, you should not be attached to anything. And what is the best way of doing that?
Devotional service to Krishna.
Yes, devotional service to Krishna. But how can we do that?
By using our eyes to see Krishna, using our
Yes,
ears to listen about Krishna, using our
yes,
tongue to chant Krishna.
yes. We should use our senses. We should use our senses not for object but for Krishna. If we are using our senses for Krishna, what would happen? We would be able to think in the right manner. So yes, this chapter has ended. Sorry. Mm, sorry. Yeah. So I've unmuted you. Now I was getting distracted a lot of times. It was because my video was not coming and I could not see anything moving. So I was distracted at a couple of times. So I'm really sorry about that. Yeah. Now, if you have any doubt, I'm more than happy to answer it. But before we end, we should understand that this fifth point was indecision. Now, for indecision, what is the logic that Krishna gave? Devote yourself in serving me with determination. Devote yourself in serving me with determination. Right? If you are serving me with determination, how would indecision arrive? If you are focused in doing something, suppose I want to study. Now there are many people who like to study a lot of things, right? There is some novel, there is some very good novel I want to study about, and at times you see that people are there who would start with the novel and who would end with the novel, thereafter they would do anything, right? So if I am so much dedicated in reading novel, what would happen? I am focused. I am focused with determination, but that determination to read novel is not very proper. How is it not proper? Because it is not serving the Lord. Now, similarly, we have to have our heart attached with Krishna to serve the Lord every time with firm determination. We should have a very firm determination that we have to serve the Lord, right? If we have this kind of determination, the indecision can never arise. We should devote our senses in serving Krishna.